Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 15 of Jujutsu Kaisen. So, last time on our first episode back after our break, we got started with this four-parter in which we are getting into the school event, the exchange event. And we see Itadori have to reveal himself as being alive to his friends because they had no idea, and their reactions are about what I expected. Like, him and Gojo were thinking that they were going to be excited and happy and crying, but no, they were just freaked out, weirded out, confused, angry. Well, Noburo was more angry than Fuji, but still. Either way. Yeah, I was trying to think of his name, but Fushiguro, not Fuji. I was saying Fuji, and that was I said Fuji, and that threw me off, I think. Fushiguro. But yeah, Noburo was more angry than him. But we also found out in the episode that the principal of the Kyoto branch is ordering his students to kill Itadori. That they don't see Yuji as human at all, and that they just want him to be taken care of right here and now. And it just makes us hate the elders of the Jujutsu sorcerers and anyone who is just blindly and super loyally following their orders, basically. Because it's like, at least the blue-haired girl, the Gojo fangirl, I can't remember her name, but at least she was questioning it and saying, like, to herself that she didn't want to do this, and, like, she wasn't sold on this idea. She's gonna follow orders because she's, I guess, afraid not to, but she doesn't want to. And at least there's that. At least she's showing hesitation. Then others in the group are not. And that's what pisses me off. And it's just like, they're just making all these characters hateable except the blue-haired girl. Like, she's the only one who's likable out of that entire group. And it's just like, Jesus. At least the Tokyo branch has likable characters. At least we can look at that. So we got, like, a little brief overview of what this first one's going to be. It's kind of like a little race of sorts, where they're trying to not really take on the opponents, but they can. They can do what they can to stop the opponents without obviously seriously injuring or killing. That's against the rules. Even though, obviously, the Kyoto branch doesn't give a fuck, because they are psychopaths. But, yeah. Well, actually, more sociopaths than psychopaths. Either way. But that is technically part of the rules. They're just basically racing each other to see who can get their tasks done first. And since the episode was basically, like, explaining how this exchange event is going to start going down, with this next episode, I assume we're going to get into that. Now, we also did have a little bit of positivity with the last episode with some major shipping fuel. And yes, I'm going to go in on this because it's me, and I love shipping. And I especially love gay shipping. And there was some notable shipping fuel for Nobara and Maki. And some people may look at that and say it's not a lot, but let's be honest, it was actually notable. It may not, it's not like confirmation of like them being together or anything like that, But in terms of actual fuel for a ship, it's pretty damn strong. Um, Throughout everything we've seen of their connection so far, we can already see that Nobara is very much seeing Maki as this mentor figure, this big sister figure, which, knowing Nobara's backstory, really makes sense for her character to latch onto someone like that. But also, there is a lot of fuel that can very much be taken, not just as like, oh, she looks up to her as like a big sister figure, but there's a lot that you can see there for like, oh, no, she loves her. She's into her. Like, she's literally dedicating to do everything in this exchange event for Maki. It's just like, come on. It's so there. And again, even if it's not going to be like canonized or anything, even if they're not going to like really delve into it super heavily, it's still fucking there. The fuel is there, and it's just like, it's one of those cases where a series is honestly really fucking blatant about it, even if the writer is afraid to try and get away with it because of how, you know, publishers and readers and all will think. I don't know what this author's specific stance on that kind of thing is, on queer relationships. I don't know, but they might still nonetheless be concerned about whether or not they can get away with putting that in their series and how it'll affect things and all. Because unfortunately, Japan is ahead of some countries, but it's still not perfect in terms of queer representation and just queer rights in general. Oh my, excuse me. But yeah, it's like, I still feel like there's something there nonetheless. It's like you can watch a lot of anime and it's like there's clear romantic, specifically romantic chemistry between two characters. And it's just like so obvious. It's like Naruto and Hinata in Naruto, or Ichigo and Orihime in Bleach. It's like it was so obvious with their romantic chemistry and just how they were paired and connected with each other that both of those would be endgame pairings. I knew that the instant I first saw either of those series. The idea of Naruto ending up with Sakura or Ichigo ending up with Rukia was never on the table. And that was very clear from how the characters and their connections and chemistries and interactions were portrayed. I knew that from the beginning, and a lot of people told me I was wrong and told me that would never happen, that it was clear that Ichigo would be with Rukia or that Naruto would be with Sakura, and both times I was right. Because it was so fucking obvious. The chemistry was there. And the chemistry between Nobara and Maki kind of reads to me like that. It kind of reads to me like that. Maybe not as strong, but it's definitely there. And I don't even know if that's intentional, but I'd like to believe it is. And Yuji and Fushiguro even have quite a bit of that chemistry to them as well. I wouldn't say as much, but that could change now that they're, back together. I think it's just because Nobara and Maki have had more recent interaction that it's more fresh in that regard. While Fushiguro and Yuji haven't been interacting with each other for a good bit of time. So, taking that into account as well. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to see where this goes. And I'm just really excited for the future of the series. We got a little bit last time as well of the villains just plotting shit. We'll see how that goes. It looks like they're going to try and interfere with this exchange event. We'll see. But yeah, definitely excited. The one thing I'm not excited about, the last thing I'll mention before we begin this, is the new opening. The new opening is honestly not good. It's honestly kind of crap. The first opening was really good. It was really hype, really exciting, really unique and fresh. It didn't feel like an opening for any other series, and it really stood out because of it. The new opening it's very generic and boring and very boring, I should say. It's not interesting at all. The music is not that great. The visuals aren't that exciting. It's just it feels like so much less effort was put into it than the first opening. And I'm not trying to like minimize any of the work any of the anime studio or staff put into the opening at all. If some people like it, that's awesome, and I really do support that. But I don't think it's good. So maybe we'll give it one more watch through at some point, but I don't know. We'll see. Either way, we're just going to get this started and hope for the best as this exchange event begins. We'll see how it goes down. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, so Miwa, I guess is her name. Yeah, she's the only member of the Kyoto group that I like. And this episode really didn't change my mind on any of that, because Todo is still a disgusting, terrible piece of just toxic shit. Like, seriously, like, Todo is basically the epitomization of toxic masculinity. Like, he is so gross in the way he thinks and everything. It's like, here, the thing, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging someone's attractiveness. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think that's how Yuji thinks about it. It's like he just acknowledges, like, he likes the attractiveness of a person, but he doesn't see them in the way that Todo clearly does. Todo sees women as objects for sexual desire. We've gotten that back when he asked Fushiguro the question. And, Fushiguro actually gave him a very reasonable, respectable answer, treating women with, just respect and care. And we saw that Todo found that was boring and unacceptable, and it's like that, just that alone is enough reason to hate him. But just the way he acts here is so aggressively toxic, and I hate it. So we see that this the competition has begun, and obviously the Kyoto branch are doing what they said they were going to do and are going after Yuji. Luckily, the rest of the Tokyo crew figures it out and are able to adjust to handle the situation. And while we see that Panda's crew are a little more like trying to explain to Nobara what's going on and why it's happening, we see that Maki and Fushiguro Maki's just like, well, let's go save him. And her reasoning, I mean, that's what we do for friends. And it's like, fuck yeah, Maki. You're my favorite of the upperclassmen by far. Not even just for the entire, gay shipping thing with Nobra and all. It's like I do enjoy that aspect of things, but I genuinely like Maki as a character. She's tough. She's a very serious character, but at the same time, she's not like this heartless piece of shit or anything. She's very much a good person. And we see how she's willing to fight for others, even when it might put her at a little bit of a disadvantage. So that's really cool to see. That's genuinely cool to see. Um, so a lot of this though does come down to the fight. We see all of them go after Yuji, but Todo wants to take him alone. Yuji's agreed to the plan, but is also, wanting to take Todo down himself. And we get some really interesting facts during this fight. We find out that while Todo is stronger in terms of his abilities and powers, he actually has less raw strength than Yuji, which is actually really shocking. Because while we know Yuji is really strong, really fast, all of that jazz, Todo is fucking yoked out of his mind. Like, this dude is built like just an absolute unit. And you're saying he's physically weaker than Yuji? I mean, like, Yuji's fit. I would even call Yuji muscular. But he's nothing compared to Todo. So to find out that he's technically physically stronger than Todo is kind of shocking and almost unbelievable. But that's really interesting. And it makes you wonder, like, why is Yuji so strong? Why is he so fast? Where does all of this natural physical ability come from? Because there's got to be something more to that, right? Like, he's not good with the actual power system of this series, but where does the rest of this actually originate from? There's got to be more to it. And it can't just be Sukuna either. Like, yeah, Sukuna obviously adds something in there, but we've seen that even before Sukuna came into the picture, Yuji was notably strong and notably fast. Like, this existed before he took Sukuna into his body. So I'm just curious. Why? How? What is the explanation here? Either way, this was a good episode to really set things up and to kick off the beginnings of this. We see that the groups have kind of split up. We see Nobra and Panda have gone after the flying witch girl. I don't know what else to call her. I don't know her name offhand. I don't know most of the Kyoto group's names offhand. I only know Miwa and Todo and Mai at this point. We see that that Fushiguro is going after the one dude, and we see Maki take on Miwa, and it's like everyone's kind of splitting off into their separate groups, their separate pairings, and I'm interested to see where these fights go. Especially Maki versus Miwa. Not only just to see Maki in more action, but I want to see Miwa in action. I want to see what she can do, because as I said in the reaction, I by no means think that she's weak. I think Miwa is actually pretty strong. A lot stronger than you would think. Like, it's this weird thing where you almost kind of expect the shyer, cutesier, nicer character of the group to be weaker. It's just this automatic expectation that's been drilled into our heads by media, by just how people normally think of things. So I'm thinking that this is going to subvert that Miwa's actually going to be pretty strong. Maybe not the strongest of the Kyoto group, but pretty strong nonetheless. And I think she's going to be able to hold her own against Maki. I think the Flying Witch Girl actually might be the weakest. She seems like she's a scout. So her abilities in combat may not be up to everyone else's. Not that she would necessarily be unable to handle herself. I think she can probably still fight. They probably all can. But just not to the same level as the others. I would say either Toto or the guy that Fushiguro is taking on is the strongest. One of those two. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm pretty invested, though. I mean, I was already invested. I was already loving this series, as you guys know, but I'm definitely interested to see how these fights go down. And there's like 2 more parts to this, so they're going to get through this and the single battles? Or is something going to happen to stop that? Maybe because the Kyoto branch is trying to kill Yuji, maybe that'll put a damper on things. And maybe stop the exchange event before that happens? I don't know. Because I don't see how both this can be finished and the second event can happen within the course of 2 more episodes. I just feel like something would be, like, not given the amount of time it really needs if that happened. We also did get the Juju Stroll, where it's just like, oh, the characters are just kind of revealing what's their type, as if Toto asked them and all. The part at the end with Gojo, I think that was like something else. I think he was just talking to the other woman about Miwa and everything. I don't think he was like explaining his type there. But everyone else was explaining their types. And I was paying attention to most notably Maki and Nobra's, because I was interested to hear what they wanted to say. And Maki's answer was basically anyone stronger than her. So Maki's like, as long as they're stronger than me, that's all I care about. And then you get to Nobra. Let me see if I can find Nobra here. Where is she? She had a very specific answer. UBSSD. So anyone who is, as long as they are not useless, for one, which I can see that. You don't want your partner to be useless. As long as they're not broke. So we know Nobra is kind of into spending money and like getting stuff and going places. She has that tourist mentality. Smelly, which fair enough. Stingy. So generosity is something she values, basically. Kind of as an opposite of stingy. And dead. It's like, yeah? It's like, I guess you're not a necrophiliac, which is a good thing, but it's like, oh, okay, I think that's pretty much a prerequisite. I love how she has this entire system, though. The funny thing is, I think Maki is fully within this. Maki is clearly not useless. I don't think Maki is broke by any means. I don't know if I don't know if the Zenin family's rich. I don't know if it said anything about that, but I don't think she's broke by any means. Doubtful that she's smelly. She's clearly not stingy. We actually got that in this episode. She's clearly very much not stingy. And she's, from what I can tell, alive. So the ship still has fuel, is what I'm saying. But then the witch girl mentions Sebastian Stan, and it's like, okay, we're going to have Yuji simp over Jennifer Lawrence, and now we're going to have this witch girl simp over the fucking Winter Soldier. It's like, oh my god. Like, the Jennifer Lawrence one was funny enough, just the fact that they named her by name in this, and apparently that's in the manga too. I wonder if the Juju Strolls are in the manga in any way. Like, could that be like a cover thing, or like maybe like a little special thing they have at the end of each chapter? I don't know. But either way, the fact that this witch girl mentions Sebastian Stan is hilarious as fuck to me. Like, because it's like, just the fact that they're naming people, real actors. And ones that I know. It's like I very much know Jennifer Lawrence, and I very much know Sebastian Stan. And it's like, yeah, they're both attractive enough. I mean, neither of them I would specifically call my type. Neither of them I would say that I'm like super attracted to personally. Um, but it's like, what? Also, I need to check something here. Kind of going off of that, I need to check something here. Um, uh, okay, that doesn't help me at all. Jennifer Lawrence is 5'9". Yeah, she's not really tall. Like Yuji was like talking about his type to Toto, and he's like, I like someone who's like tall and has a big ass, like Jennifer Lawrence, and it's like, but she's not. She's kind of average, really. Maybe a little taller than average, but 5'9" is really not that tall. Um, I've known women taller than that. That's really not that tall. And again, I wouldn't really say Jennifer Lawrence has really that big of an ass like or anything. It's like I never really like quantified her that way. Of course, again, I don't really talk about pretty much anyone that way. Um, it's really not how I describe a person. When I talk about a person's look, I usually describe them by like I don't know, more hair color or something, than stuff like weight or like the size of their ass or breasts or anything like that. That's just not how I talk about people usually. But again, it's just like I don't really think that qualifies. Not that she has like no ass, but it's weird. I don't know. I just feel like Yuji, do you know who Jennifer Lawrence is? Do you actually know who she is? Do you know what she looks like? Um, I don't know. I don't know. But I just love that they're mentioning these actors by name. That's fucking hilarious to me. Um, but yeah, like I said before, there's nothing wrong with liking how someone looks. There's nothing wrong with finding someone attractive physically, and acknowledging that they have a nice body, even. As long as you're not gross about it. As long as you're not, like, viewing that as how to see value in a person. As long as you're not, like, looking at that as what's important in a person's appearance, then you're okay. Because I think everybody, for the most part, not, I mean, there's obviously exceptions with people who are, like, asexual or whatnot, attraction is a spectrum. Just like most things out there, attraction to people is a spectrum. Some people view it a lot more physically. Some people view it a lot more based on personality and stuff. But for those who do, like, look at physical features and find them attractive and stuff, again, as long as you're not gross about it, as long as you're not disrespectful about it, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that someone looks physically good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just don't be gross about it. Just acknowledge that they're still a person. Just be respectful. Like, there's a lot of actors and actresses and all out there that I find very attractive. A lot of celebrities in general, a lot of people in general, and that's just how it is. But I'm not going to treat them like crap because of it. I mean, I'm the kind of person who stands up for sex workers and tells people not to treat them like sex object, like just like they're sex objects and nothing else. And sex workers, like, that's kind of what they sell. But you still have to acknowledge they're still people. And they still should be treated with respect and dignity. Treating them as if they're just like a piece of meat or something is fucking disgusting. It's reprehensible to treat anyone like that, even if they're a sex worker. Honestly, especially if they're a sex worker. That does not, just because they're a sex worker does not give you the right to treat them like shit. So, and I view sex work. I view porn and stuff. I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't exactly hide that. I share not safe for work stuff on my Twitter. But I still believe in standing up for everyone to be treated with respect and dignity. You can acknowledge they're attractive, just don't view them in that way, you know? That's all I'm trying to say. Basically, I hate Toto. I really hate Toto. Like, my God. I think he's the one out of all of them I hate the most. In fact, no, I'd say that's pretty much confirmable. I don't like Mai at all. Like, she pisses me off. I don't like the guy Fushigoro's taking on. I don't really have any thoughts about the witchy girl right now. Like, she doesn't seem as actively bad as the others, but I'm not quite sure where she falls. Miwa's the only one I like in their group. I don't know. But Toto is definitely the one I hate the most. And just him trying to say, like, he's best friends with Yuji and, like, having this fantasy about them growing up together and everything is like, oh my God, you are so fucking weird and uncomfortable and I hate you. Like, he's trying to insert himself into someone's life because he values his answer and views it as like, oh, this kid's not boring because he likes Jennifer Lawrence's ass. It's like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Like, even Yuji, like, even before he answered, he's like, why are you asking me this now? It's like, this isn't really relevant to anything. And he answers, but again, I truly believe that Yuji doesn't view it in a disrespectful, undignified way. It's like he's acknowledging what his type is. He likes women with a large butt. Again, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you like physical attractiveness on someone. As long as you're not gross about it, like Toto. Anyway, I probably should end these afterthoughts now before I just go too far into this. I'm gonna rant forever about that shit. But yeah, so the battles are really going to be getting started next episode. We kind of got everyone separated out for the time being, so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. We're assuming that the Kyoto students are going to stop once the actual match ends. So our group is trying to stop it, to end it as quickly as possible so that they stop, but we don't know if that's actually going to be the case. We'll see. We will see. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.